We have Mayor Brown with us. There was an incident in city of Brampton. There was an attack on Hindu Sabha Mandir, and there was some chaos in the plazas after the Diwali festival. So we will discuss with Mayor Brown what is the situation right now. Mayor Brown, welcome to the show.
Well, is that I was angry, to be blunt. Here we are. We had this beautiful gathering for Diwali and Bandi Jor Divas at Sesquicentennial Park in Brampton. 10,000 people came out, beautiful fireworks, everyone in harmony together. And then I see these videos of this ugly division. A few things I want to say. One, I understand that the right to protest is a constitutional right in Canada, but there are right and wrong places. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, the government highlighted where there are limits to protest. For example, they prohibited protest at hospitals. Well, I'm now proposing that we prohibited protests at places of worship. Everyone in this country should be free to go to their place of worship, free of harassment, intimidation, and violence. And to think of the families inside the Hindu Sabha seeing that protest outside, and the fact that it led to acts of violence is horrifying. Looking at physical assaults, using sticks as a weapon, that's not who we are in Canada. Religious freedom is a foundational value. And when I see protests that lead to violence, it is an attack on the foundations of our country. And so, I believe that law enforcement, government, we all have to do better to protect our places of worship, to be free of this ugliness.
Mayor Brown, so far, what is the news? How many people are being charged or arrested after this brawl?
Well, it's a very fluid situation. And so I know the Peel Police put out their first release about the first 3 individuals charged. My understanding is there's additional charges that are coming. I've been assured from our chief of police that there'll be zero tolerance for violence, intimidation, and harassment. And if there are hate crimes committed in our region, they will be prosecuted, they will be arrested, they will be charged. And so I think it's premature to say the exact number. The Peel Police are actively taking statements and looking at the video. Obviously, there's a lot of video collected, both from body-worn cameras and from cell phone video that has been shared, and they're doing their due diligence right now. So I think stay tuned, but clearly Chief Nish has put out the word. This will not be tolerated. Violence will not be tolerated here in Peel Region.
Mayor, there is a news that one sergeant police officer is also suspended, Sergeant Harinder Sohi. Is that correct?
My understanding from the chief of police is that there was a police officer that was involved and has been suspended. I'd say we hold our police to a higher standard of impartiality, and I can appreciate why the chief felt that it was necessary to suspend this officer.
Mayor, many politicians, they tweeted on this, they condemned this act, but these protesters outside the religious place with the flags of Khalistan and their bosses there in US who is instigating them, is that not a interference in our country? Is that not a violent protest? Is this not a trespassing? Is this not a hate crime? So how police will look into all this angle, and why politicians are not using Khalistani word in their tweets or in theirs, because when they have those flags into their hands?
So I would say that a protest outside of a place of worship is wrong. And whether it's a gurdwara or a mandir, a mosque, a church, a synagogue, I don't want to see protest at places of worship. Whether there was foreign interference that led to this, as you suggested, I'm sure that will be investigated. I think it's premature to know who suggested this, who instigated this. I don't have that information, so it would be not right of me to make an assessment on that. What I would say is those responsible should be held accountable. And if there are trespassing on the grounds of the Hindu Sabha, if there is violence on the grounds of the Hindu Sabha, as I said yesterday on social media, those individuals should be held fully accountable with the laws we have in Canada, and prosecuted and charged.
Whole of the Indo-Canadian community, including Hindus and Sikhs, they are condemning this act, and today at 6 p.m. they are gathering outside the mandir also, so that they can show their grievances with the law enforcement, with the people, with the all those situations which is happening. What do you have to say on that, and what is your appeal to the community?
Well, I think a silver lining on this ugly incident is we are seeing leaders in the Sikh community, Hindu community collectively denounce this, collectively say that this happening in a place of worship is wrong. And so, when I saw the Ontario Gajora Council put out that statement yesterday, for me that was encouraging. It really shows that as much as there may be divisions, and I know there's a lot of tension right now, the fact that we're seeing faith leaders across the board denounce this and condemn this shows that we actually have a lot more in common. That we all do value religious freedom. We all do believe that it's inappropriate to have activities such as this outside a place of worship.
So, Mayor Brown, you also condemn the Khalistani protesters with all those flags outside the religious places, and they are the Khalistani elements. They are disturbing peace here in our cities. And same videos came out from Surrey also.
Yeah, it was wrong. And I don't think it's limited to Canada. We're seeing protests in Australia, the United Kingdom, the US, Canada. And listen, I know there's a right to protest, but don't do it in front of a place of worship. Give your head a shake. You can express your protest. We have fierce democratic debates in this country, but there's a right and wrong venue. And this was completely inappropriate.
Mayor, in one of the social media clip, it was seen that whenever the Indian flag was burned by these elements, there was no action from the police side. But yesterday, when Khalistani flag was insulted and by a few individuals, the police tried to stop them. They tried to snatch that Khalistani flag from those individuals. Why this kind of bipartisan by the police force?
Well, I would say I think our chief of police, Nishan Durappa, is very impartial. He just enforces the laws. And I think when you have hundreds of videos being shared, there'll be different perspectives. But I think by and large, our Peel police are incredibly professional. I think law enforcement in this country are very dedicated to upholding the law and keeping the peace. And if there are any examples of impartiality, the police take that very seriously. The best example would be the fact that an officer has been suspended. I would say the leadership of the Peel Police expect complete impartiality as they enforce the peace.
Do you want that officer should be dismissed also instead of suspension?
So under the Police Act, there's actually a process to that. The chief doesn't have the right to dismiss. They have to suspend, and then there's a hearing.
Mayor, switch to the other issue, which city of Brampton proudly celebrated Diwali with all of their residents, and there was very enthusiasm among the residents. But when after the event there, the videos came from the Great Punjab Plaza, there was hooliganism. They have not obeyed any law. Then same videos came from the Toronto downtown, where these youngsters, they are humiliating the police officers, humiliating. And they are it's very shocking. And every Canadian is shocked by these kind of behaviors. What is the solution? What is the solution, Mayor?
So, then I would say this: these hooligans and idiots that think that they can get away with stunts like this, they get caught. Look what happened at Westwood Plaza in Mississauga and Trinity Commons in Brampton. The police did extensive blitzes. They looked at the video footage and laid a ton of charges. And so these people think they can, do stunt driving or street racing and acts of hooliganism. They're going to get a criminal record. And so they're not embarrassing anyone. They're embarrassing themselves. They will get caught. Do not underestimate the investigative capacity of law enforcement in this country. Idiots will get caught, and they'll wear that criminal record with them for the rest of their life.
And you believe that laws should be changed, more strict punishment, more strict laws, because many of them don't have a status, they don't have citizens here. So we should keep our clean.
I've always been an advocate for stricter laws. I do see, I think this is a separate conversation, but I do see loopholes in our justice system. I look at our bail system, so you can have individuals who are charged and let out a day later. But I think that's a separate conversation of how we really need to tighten our criminal justice system in this country. And of course, that is set by the Parliament of Canada with the provisions in the Criminal Code.
And Mayor, final question, the public safety concern, your message to the residents, because when we talk to the Sikh community, they are condemning it, but they are also scared that if we talk against this, these violent mob of Khalistani, they come after them, either in Gurdwara premises or outside. They said, that's why we are quiet. We don't talk on this much. We don't speak out loudly that we are condemning it. But these elements, they are come violently against us. So your message to the residents of Peel.
So Nitin, what I've heard is that Hindu families are scared, Sikh families are scared, and I've heard, from Sikh families concerned about extortions and retaliation from the Indian government. I've heard Hindu families obviously scared about Khalistani protest, and so I hear both, and I don't want anyone scared. Whether you go to the Gurdwara, whether you go to the Mandir, I want everyone to feel safe. And I think we need to, my message is this, we're going to double down. The Peel police are going to double down to make sure our places of worship are safe, that no one fears for their safety when going to their place of worship, whether you're going to the Gurdwara, the synagogue, the Mandir, the church, the mosque, whatever your place of worship, we're going to do everything we can to make sure you're safe.
Do you think that police will release the names of all the people who are being charged?
Under our criminal justice system in Canada, if you're a young offender, the name is not released. But if you are older than 18, then those names are released.
Thank you, Mayor. And your message to the community, final message.
That we're not going to tolerate violence at places of worship. Rest assured, we will not tolerate this. And that I'm just as livid as you are, and we're going to make sure we set a very clear example that those that disturb the peace are held accountable.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.